Hey everyone, welcome back to The Lobby, GameSpot's weekly video game hangout here in San Francisco, California. I'm your host, Mike Mahardy. Here as always with reviews editor, Peter Brown.
I'm trying to do it again.
Stop! Jesus. He made a weird noise during our intro and he just keeps doing it and it's awful.
That's what I'm doing.
Rob Hanley, what's going on?
What's up?
How's it going?
It's going good, dude. Thanks.
Yeah. You've been playing Lawbreakers lately? We're going to talk about that. We've all been getting our butts kicked in Lawbreakers, but I found out there's a good... Yeah, you have too. There's a class I really like that I've been playing. We're going to talk more about that. We're going to talk about Yakuza Kiwami. Kelly Plagg, you've been playing Hellblade along with a few of us. Got a lot to talk about with that game.
Yeah.
We'll get into that soon. As always, we have some news stories, and we have a giveaway, which I'll announce later on the show. Toward the end, Shiva will tweet it out from our GameSpot account. If you don't follow us right now, if you're watching this on Twitch or YouTube or GameSpot, go follow us on Twitter. Later on, there'll be a giveaway tweet. You can retweet it. Later on in the week, we'll pick a few random winners. Sorry, I almost spoiled what it was.
We just choose our favorite person.
Whoever you have the best names. Reggie McCrenshaw. Cool. So as everybody knows now, first off, Shadow of War has ranked multiplayer Fortress Assault, which sounds kind of cool. It's like the forward operating base from Metal Gear Solid 5.
Okay, really?
Like, yeah.
Huh.
So you can opt into it. You can say, you build up your fortresses. A big part of this game, there's that strategy layer of kind of controlling Mordor and the outer lying regions. You're gonna have like Osgiliath, Minas Morgul, Minas Tirith, or sorry, not Minas Tirith, like Cirith Ungol, all these different fortresses. But now you can assault other people's in this like ranked matchmaking, what do we want to say, like mode. So then you can actually build up your fortresses to defend them. But I guess in bigger news, the thing that's kind of pissing a lot of people off is that Shadow of War has microtransactions in the form of loot chests, war chests, and XP boosts, which include new skins for Talion, as well as you can also just like get specific orcs that you would otherwise through the Nemesis system, from what we understand.
Get orked.
Yeah, people are mad about this.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, maybe it's because Shadow of Mordor did such a good job of respecting your progress, and you felt like you were earning everything through the Nemesis system because of the procedural enemy generation stuff. I don't know. What do you guys think of this?
I think the only real issue here that maybe people are having a hard time put their finger on is the fact that like the items and the stuff that you're getting through paying real world money, that's all stuff you can get in the game. So the fact that the game puts up this sort of sign that's like, psst, by the way, nothing matters.
Yeah.
You can just throw money at it. That kind of robs people of feeling invested in the fact that they're a part of a journey and they will earn things throughout that journey. Mm-hmm. I think it's really going to come down to like how pervasive it is. Like if they're in your face, shortly after the game begins, or like during cutscenes, like, buy now, or like you could get this thing, or whatever. If they're super overt about it, that's going to suck. If it's somehow like tucked away to where like you don't find it unless you're looking for it, then who cares?
Yeah, it's like a fine line to walk. I mean, Overwatch and multiplayer games that have cosmetic items in their loot crates and everything, that's not as big a deal because, I mean, it's randomized and people, people like joke about getting the same costume skins over and over, but it's still not, like you said, it doesn't devalue the time you're spending in it as much because this actually apparently you can unlock abilities and stuff.
And this is a narrative-driven experience too. I mean, you don't want to have, if you're trying to invest yourself in this fantasy, the last thing you want to do is bring in, real-world stuff. I don't think anyone really takes Overwatch's story or setting that seriously, right? I mean, it's a means to play with colorful characters that do wacky shit in battle and get better at it. That's not quite this.
I mean, is there something to be said about, I mean, this is single player, right?
Yeah.
Compared to like a loot system for multiplayer, which I feel like most people have allowed, but I don't know. I can't think of any other game that's like,
well, because those are aesthetic. Those are mainly aesthetic stuff, and this is
abilities,
this is mainly
said,
like you can, like Pete said, you can expedite maybe 4 or 5 hours here and there that you would otherwise just spend in what would otherwise be a really meaningful game world in the single player.
It's not ideal. You don't want to think about that.
What has me worried is how that ties into any sort of connectivity requirements with this game, because there are means out there where you can legally hack your PlayStation 4 save files to get things like more armor, level up, this, that, and the other. Yeah. So what's going to happen with this game in that sort of scenario? Like, what does it mean for the people who made those products? Specifically, I think Hyperkin and Exploder are two of those.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird. And people could, if they really wanted to, just say, screw you, Warner Brothers, we're going to do this our own way for free.
Yeah.
It's It's strange. I don't know if it's damning, but that's really going to depend on how it's implemented.
Maybe this is a poor comparison, Callie, but like imagine if you could just pay a specific amount to get like Gallarhorn back in the day for Destiny.
Yeah,
Kind of devalue the time you spent grinding or just enjoying the world, like Pete said.
Yeah, I think people kind of overreacted the word microtransactions, but I think the bigger issue is like they're by introducing microtransactions into this kind of game, they're devaluing the game themselves. Like I mean, it is just a game. I have to remember that, and like I guess if I found out like I worked really hard for Galahorn and then somebody paid for it, I'd be like, well, that sucks, and I put a lot of time to that I could have been spending doing other things. But I think from the development standpoint, you like as a developer, you're devaluing the experience you're trying to create by making it kind of like opt in.
Or you could pay money to get Mabufala in Persona 5. And I grounded for like 20 hours for that shit. Anyways, so that kind of brought up some negative reactions. We do have a lot of, on the brighter side of things, we have a lot of Shadow of War gameplay up on our site, which looks pretty cool. We got the chance to go down and play it the other day in LA. Aaron Sampson did a few gameplay videos. I'm still really excited for that game. Like you had said, I'm hoping it's not too like ubiquitous in the game, those microtransactions. If they can be tasteful about like, maybe not on every menu screen reminding me. I mean, even that's kind of minor, but just not having it
Even
pop up every 5 seconds.
If they just want to leave it as like a little link in the main menu, okay.
Yeah.
But anything beyond that is going to be problematic, I think.
Because the microtransactions for aesthetic stuff can become great for people who really love a game and have put in, like Titanfall 2, for example. You've spent real world money on Titan skins and Prime Titans, but that's because you already spent like 300 hours in that game not spending money, and you love that game enough to see the personal value in buying those things.
Yeah, you make that call, right? Like, if you really like the game, like there is something to be said. I think you could almost say the same for like Battlegrounds, right? Like, I don't know, if you are that invested into a game, that's all you're playing, like, kind of feels. It doesn't feel nearly as bad, right? Like I'm like glad to give this company, this developer, money for a hot North Star skin.
Then
But very different in this case. Yes.
Yeah. I'm thinking about like Splatoon, which is something that like I really care about the fashion in that game. Like I want my clothes in that game to like be stylish and also functional for the way I play. But wow, John Luke was fast on the Splatoon stuff. Like I like that I can't pay real world money for that, because I think part of the reason Splatoon people keep playing is to get money to get better clothes. And so I feel like if they had introduced microtransactions, it would be the same thing of devaluing the experience they're trying to create.
There would be no loop. It would just be a to B.
Right, which is, I guess, my point with like regardless of whether you're mad that like other people are getting something more easily than you are, for example, like if you set that aside, I think it's just not a great design decision.
Yeah.
It also brings up not to be a conspiracy theorist, but you could imagine a world where the game was either they didn't bother to balance it properly, or they balanced it inordinately to encourage people to just simply take the paid for route. Because it could be one of those scenarios where it's like, all right, I've spent 5 hours, I can't beat this boss. F it, I'm gonna throw $5 at the game to level up.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be bad, and there's no reason for us to expect or claim that is the case here. But it's one of those what if scenarios that definitely makes people say like, what is the point of this?
Yeah.
What am I getting out of this?
It's just weird that developers are still doing this when like microtransactions have become such a bad buzzword, like all these negative connotations. But I mean, I think the news originally came out of that preview event. Someone in the menus, that it became a news story out of it, like when we went down to get gameplay in LA and everything, right? And then someone's like, oh, there's microtransactions, and that was the big talking point, which that's going to happen if like reporters are there and trying to tell people that this will happen in the game when it comes out October 10th. Needless to say, we do have gameplay up on the site, and I will be looking forward to that game still. Hopefully they don't force that stuff on us too much. In the indie space, creators from Spelunky and Downwell announced the UFO 50 compilation.
Yeah.
A bunch of 8-bit kind of retro throwback games.
Yeah.
But it comes with like 50 of them. 2018 launch on PC. So like Derek Yu from Spelunky, again, people who made Downwell announced this. Pete, I imagine you're pretty stoked about this.
I am. There's a good use case for this as well. A couple years back, this Japanese show called Game Center CX got pretty popular. They have a Japanese comedian who like plays old video games and tries to like beat them. And there's all these other segments.
Oh yeah, that show.
Yeah, and it inspired a couple games on Nintendo DS, and those games were comprised of reimagined, genre titles based on like 8-bit stuff, and those worked really well. I really liked how those came out. So, in the hands of creators behind the games of Splunky and Downwell, 2 games that really do build off of that sort of classic gaming experience, I think this sounds like it's in great hands. Cool. 50 is a lot to tackle.
Yeah.
At least in terms of staying creative. But maybe this is a perfect exercise for people who only release a game, every couple years?
Yeah.
To just really just like take an idea, give it a shot, and see what happens. So
Yeah, I mean, I was watching some of the gameplay. It looks fun. They look like something I would love to have, like these bite-sized games. I can play like 20 minutes of one, then try another one out, or maybe like it reminds me of like having emulators back in the day or anything like that. So yeah, like I said, it'll be 2018 launch on PC, no specified date yet. So we'll have more on that, but you can go check that trailer out on GameSpot if you're curious. Some of the games look really fun. So going back to last weekend, Callie, I know you participated in Splatfest, one of the grossest competitions I've ever been witness to on social media. So describe what this is, because I'm still a bit hazy. So there was also controversy here in how it was set up in terms of the competition, right?
Right. So let's take it from the beginning. Basically, a Splatfest is an event where you pick a side. In this case, it was mayonnaise versus ketchup. And you pick which one you prefer. You say, I think ketchup is better, or I think mayonnaise is better. And then you fight for that team, and your wins against the opposing team contribute to, that vote's overall score. And then at the end, the team with the most victories and the most points wins, and then says, like, in this case, Team Mayo won. So it was Mayo's the best. Mayo's better than ketchup. One of the gross things is that in Splatoon 1, red ink and white ink were both things that did not exist for obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I saw some pretty good memes.
Yeah, I saw some good.
People spelling stuff out in white
I didn't
ink.
know that.
I did see some white ink art, if you will.
Candy cane.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, right.
So
Candy canes were made from bodily fluids.
it was almost as if Nintendo was like, all right, here you go, you dang squid kids.
You know
this is
you
what
wanted
you wanted. There was also a lot of furry art for some reason, just like anthropomorphic animals. Lots of weird stuff going on in the Splatoon community, but basically,
Splatoonity? You really shouldn't laugh at that. Thank you.
But basically, it was a electoral college popular vote situation where ketchup overwhelmingly won the popular vote by, I think, 73% of people voted for ketchup because those people are correct, and so a very small portion of people voted for mayonnaise. The problem was only games against, if you're a ketchup player, only games against mayo players mattered towards your victory score. So when we were playing, we played as a group of people from the office, or 4 of us, doing like, we had like a fire team going. We were ready to battle. We played, I think, 1 game against an actual mayo team. All of our other games were against ketchup. And so the uproar about this has been basically, if I vote for the popular thing, I have a lower chance of having a victory against the unpopular thing. And then the counter argument is, well, maybe the mayo players were just better. But at the same time, like, Splatoon is designed, I mean, these are turf war battles, so you're just inking the turf, and those games are designed to be pretty balanced. And if you're playing against a team of people who are relatively equal to you in skill, you can go either way. I think it's that's what's one of the cool things, and that's what keeps people going back to turf war. And so people thought that was a little unfair, that like, if I'm Team Ketchup, I'm only going to play a couple games against Mayo, and all of the other victories I had during the Splatfest don't count. So that was the big upset. And also, Mayo's gross.
Yeah, they're both gross.
Not true.
Well,
Condiments in
both
general.
gross, but
Condiments.
Here's the more I think about it, the more it's like, obviously they should have done like ketchup versus mustard, right?
Right.
Wouldn't that be more obvious?
The thing is, you have to consider this is a Japanese game.
No.
Mayo is a very...
I normally, sorry, Peter, I'm so sorry.
But
I didn't mean to mansplain
That's
you.
understandable, but I would say is that, as someone who likes mayonnaise on his sandwich, but I don't go around parading that I'm a huge advocate of mayonnaise.
Yeah.
It is gross. Mayo is gross.
Oh my goodness.
I enjoy
but I'm not
mayonnaise.
like
Wait, quick
I'm not raising the-
interjection to diffuse the tension that I feel building. Apex Penguin wants to know what we're putting the mayonnaise or ketchup on. French fries, hot dogs, ketchup. It's contextual.
I
Why would
agree
you
with
put ketchup
that.
on ketchup?
So, okay, so the reason I said no, Peter, I'm very sorry for doing that, is because Splatfests historically with Splatoon 1 weren't always global. So there were Japan-specific ones. So Japan had, I think it was milk tea versus something else, but like milk tea wouldn't be something that would work necessarily in most parts of the US, for example. This one, however, did happen to be global. So the North America, Europe, and Japan all had the same categories, which I thought was weird. And the other thing is Japanese mayonnaise is way better.
It's
Like,
different.
it's like spicy.
It's different.
No, it's like kind of like sweet. Yeah, it's hard to explain.
Okay.
If you want to say umami, you can say umami, but it's not. It's hard to explain where it falls.
Yeah, but it's different from American mayonnaise. So there are all those things to consider. But I think the main thing people are upset about is that there should be a better matchmaking system for
Right.
these big discrepancies in votes. But I agree that it was kind of a weird setup. I would have thought ketchup, like if it was ketchup versus ranch, I would have gone ranch so hard. I would have had posters. I would have like campaigned in Splatoon, like made those little posts.
You know what we need is the salsa versus guacamole.
Yes. Oh, guacamole.
That's gotta happen. But what
That's
if
a
it's
good one.
But what if it's sour cream versus guacamole?
Nick
Yeah,
Margarita.
exactly.
Nick Margarita spoon feeds himself sour cream, and you might think I'm joking, but you've seen him do it. He eats
not.
sour cream
I
with a
have
spoon.
not.
Like
That's
a
really-
special
if I
sour
could-
cream spoon that he carries
is
with him at all
unhealthy.
times.
Not one the
Just
same
in case?
spoon, but he will just to prove how much he likes sour cream, he will eat it with a spoon.
Hey, who wants to see how much I like sour cream?
If I can't make
find
this
an excuse.
conversation any more nauseating, what have past What have past Splatfests been?
Well, the one before it was during the the pre-release, right? It was the
Yes.
cake and ice cream one.
Cake and ice cream, and that was another case of ice cream had way more votes.
What colors?
I
were
went
those?
cake and got stomped on.
Well, cake is also bad. Cake versus pie would have been a good one.
See, exactly.
But what do you color pie? Brown?
Well, I didn't.
Tan?
As an ice cream vote, I did not play a cake team. I didn't even get to play a
Yeah,
cake
because
team.
it's like
Oh, one of the dramas also is that of the two idols, there's Pearl and Marina. They're they're parallels to Callie and Marie.
Holy crap! There have been that
Oh, yeah.
many
Yeah. So
roller coasters versus water slides.
So
How specific are they getting?
one of my favorites was Autobots versus
Yeah, I was looking at that.
Decepticons.
Oh, that's really good, actually.
And then SpongeBob and Patrick.
Oh, that's really good. Pokemon Red versus Blue, no competition. Blue.
Past, future.
The past one?
And it's turquoise.
You people have had a warped perception of the past.
Why? Okay, I want to know. Marshmallows versus hot dogs is just
That's dumb.
strange.
Well, what's the reasoning behind that? I heard someone explain that one.
Well, it's sweet versus savory, right?
Like campfire foods or something is what I thought.
Oh.
What are campfire foods?
Go.
That was the third one. Based on these dates, that was August 7th. The first one was July 4th. The third time they ran out, we're like, oh shit, campfire food, let's do it. And then they're like, wait, we could do Transformers. No, let's go like highbrow art science. And then
Cars
modes
and
of
play.
transportation. Pirates and Ninjas is dope.
Pirates and Ninjas is
Ninjas and
classic.
Samurai would be better.
Well, Pirates versus Ninjas dates back to the One Piece versus Naruto days.
Oh,
So much history.
Wouldn't the opposite of a plane be a submarine?
Felipe Idar said Gryffindor versus Slytherin.
Slytherin.
Nah, dude, Ravenclaw, son.
Oh, if I'm choosing between Gryffindor and
So that's a
Slytherin.
Harry Potter tattoo?
No, it's not.
The truth comes out.
Also, you're absolutely a Slytherin.
I'm not a Slytherin.
Okay, so
Stop
these
saying
are-
this.
Spoken like a
There's more.
Slytherin.
There's these are
Rice versus bread.
Perfect body, perfect brain.
What?
so this is the these
Are
are,
those mutually exclusive?
Mountain food and seafood.
these are the
Love versus money. Jesus.
this is the Japanese ones. I really love that love one. I just want to say that. Oh my God, perfect body won
Damn.
over perfect brain.
It usually does.
Oh my God.
It usually does.
Story of my life.
So so one of the examples is milk tea versus lemon tea. Obviously, it doesn't work, but I think something like Boke, I can't actually read that very well, and Tsukomi,
yeah.
That obviously people would be like, what? In North America, so a lot of
I
these
like
are
blue.
different. Well, I like blue. So yeah, so these are some Splatfest topics. But anyway,
Jesus.
the thing I was gonna say with Pearl and Marina is that so far the thing with the most popular votes has been Marina's pick. So they each pick one. In this Splatfest, Pearl, who's like the gremlin one that everyone hates, she was pro mayonnaise, and Marina, who's like the Beyonce of Splatoon and everyone loves her, she picked ketchup. So everyone was like ketchup. So yeah, but
collusion.
This did bring about a lot of good mayonnaise references.
Oh, really?
So I was happy.
She does this cute little thing.
She calls it's so cute. She calls it a mayonnaise. Yeah.
Should we explain that for people who don't
That's
get it?
Arrested Development.
Her?
No. I get it. Is that what you're saying? Oh, yeah, the Arrested Development one. That makes sense. I didn't get it right away, actually, so I didn't get it. Thank you. But now I get it. He calls, what's her name, Egg, right?
She doesn't have a name.
George Michael
Who?
is his
Anne.
girlfriend.
I know her name's Anne.
She does this cute little thing. She takes a hard-boiled egg, she puts it in her mouth, and she takes a packet of mayonnaise, and she squirts it in.
you throws it around.
It's so cute. She goes, she does
I
a
remember now.
mayonnaise.
Okay. God, I'm so nauseous after that entire conversation. All right. Valve announced a trading card game at the International last night. Didn't like the American favorite team lose?
Yeah, so basically a lot of the American favorite Dota 2 teams are out. There a lot of people from North America, their favorite teams are out. So I think Evil Genius, I don't know. I know like
Evil Geniuses.
Yeah, Evil Geniuses is out. But they announced a game and they were like, new Valve game, and everyone was like waiting and waiting. And then it said a Dota card game.
Yeah.
And then there was a moment of people going, and then everyone clapped. So
Yeah, you can watch that video if you want. You've probably seen it on Twitter if you're watching when people just voice their disappointment very loudly at the arena.
I think part of it was because the trailer was super vague, right? It was just like
Yeah.
a big cinematic. So like just to drop, like what is this? Oh man, what a teaser! And then it's card game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right here, people were like,
I totally
Artifact.
expected Half-Life
And then-
3 at a
yeah.
Dota event.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
Cool. So let's move on to more pressing games, I guess you could say. Mega Man Legacy Collection 2, Mega Man 7, 8, 9, and 10 on PS4, Xbox One, PC.
Yep.
Pete, you like Mega Man games?
Yep.
I've only played Mega Man X, Mega Man 2, and Mega Man 9, incidentally. I really like that game. I like 9 and 10 a lot. But I don't know. I don't know Mega Man well enough to know what, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Isn't 7 pretty derided in the Mega Man community?
Thank you for disqualifying your own opinion. I was just about to do that.
Yeah.
7 is it's not my favorite. It's not a lot of people's favorite. It's sort of this weird middle child thing happening where it's like an awkward 16-bit transition for the series, which had done quite well with Mega Man X already.
Yeah.
Mega Man X is a great game for a lot of reasons. But yeah, for me personally, Mega Man 8 is my highlight. It's probably one of the safer Mega Man games, but it was when the 2D graphics sort of took that extra leap forward and looked cartoony, but crisp and animated really well and stuff like that. Vanilla Mega Man had kind of already run its course. By the time they got to 9 and 10, it was like, well, first of all, Capcom didn't make those. It was Intercreates. And then it was like, okay, how do we make old school Mega Man relevant again? We just make it super difficult. And so
Yeah.
I don't really like those games so much. I appreciate them.
The
I like
newer
their
ones?
soundtracks. Yeah.
Yeah. I played them I played 9 and 10 on XBLA a while ago.
Yeah.
And that was maybe because I felt like it was an excuse to play a Mega Man game because they were relevant again.
Yeah.
Maybe not that they were ever irrelevant, but I never, aside from Mega Man X, which I played a ton back in its SNES days, I didn't really play many of them. Mega Man 2, I went back to and got my ass kicked.
Yeah, those games are tough. I mean, it all comes down to really understanding what boss you face first, so then you have the right weapons to go through other levels easier. I think, even if Mega Man 9 and 10 aren't like incredible games, they really are a good sign of like when a company listens to its fans and it's like, okay, we'll give you more of what you want. That doesn't happen very often, so it's cool that it did at all. But this collection also has a lot of historical stuff to it, like concept art, and that is one particular topic that has been unraveling with a bit of controversy of its own. Because in the Mega Man 8 art section, there's apparently a piece of art that is not from that game, and it is like never before seen like digital art of a character that's vaguely like Mega Man, but very different aesthetic and design going on, and people are sort of like, what is this from? We've never seen this in any game. It doesn't match the same art style as 8. Is this Capcom subvertly teasing a new Mega Man game? It is kind of close to the Battle Network series, which was like turn-based RPG type stuff on the Game Boy Advance. But no one really knows for sure. Capcom isn't really saying.
Because they're not like putting a date on it as far as like when this concept art was.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's possible that it was even for a project that was canceled in the past. I mean, like we have no idea where it is. This is Mega Man 8 we're looking at right now. And so one of the other things this collection does is it'll give you little challenges in stages based on the game. They're like remixed in a way, and you have so much time to like complete this new section or to perform a task. And those are interesting ways to re-engage with some of these games. What I really like about the extra features beyond the concept art and beyond the soundtracks are that you can hover over the boss concept art and press one button to immediately hop into that boss fight from any of the included Mega Man games, which as a means of like practice is really good because Mega Man games can be really tough and you can get to a boss and not know how to do anything and have to restart a level after losing all your lives. So that's super handy and pretty neat.
Sorry, what platform was Mega Man 8 on?
PlayStation and Sega Saturn.
Okay. And then 9. So was there a pretty huge gap between 8 and 9? Because 9 was XBLA.
Yeah, 8 was like 97, I want to say.
9 must have been what, like 2009?
2008.
2008, okay.
Yeah, 2008, 2010 for 9 and 10.
Slight tangent, but Matterfall from Housemarque is coming out soon, August 15th.
Yeah.
And I initially thought it was Metroidvania. I think I might have even said that on the lobby like a couple months ago, but it's more along the lines of Mega Man, maybe platform action game.
Yeah, I mean, chiefly Mega Man in like, yes, 2D side-scrolling action with sort of platforming stuff, but you pick up little augments that change your abilities like Mega Man can. I don't believe it's the same structure where like you get that stuff from bosses.
Oh, okay, right.
I believe you find them in the environment from these civilians that you're trying to free, more or less. Depending if you find certain ones, you can then mix and match these augments in different ways for different effects.
Cool. Mega Man Legacy Collection 2 out now?
Yep, $20.
PS4, Xbox One, PC.
Yes, sir.
Sweet. And like I said, if you are also into this type of game, maybe Matterfall will scratch that itch. August 15th from Housemarque, makers of Resogun, the more recent Nex Machina, and
Super Stardust.
Super Stardust.
And Alienation.
And Alienation, yeah. Damn. They make a lot of games.
They do.
But they're usually tight. I'm looking forward to Matterfall, see what happens with that in about a week. We'll talk about that next episode in the lobby. Releases a week from yesterday. Yakuza Kiwami, the remake of the first Yakuza game. So the most recent one we talked about was Zero, right?
Yakuza
the prequel.
Zero, yes.
So this is just a remake of the first game. Not just. I don't mean to be. I'm not reducing it.
God damn you.
I've never actually. No, I've said this before in the lobby. The only Yakuza game I've ever played was the spin-off Dead Souls.
The only Yakuza game I've ever played was the real life Yakuza game. So I've got these tattoos.
Whoa! All you triads watching.
You have all your fingers, right?
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
That'd be a sick Splatfest. Yakuza versus Triad. Bloods versus Crips.
Oh no!
Nah, just kidding.
Anyways, Yakuza Kiwami is sort of the second remake of the first game. It was sort of remade for Wii and PS3. But yeah, it runs off the same engine as Yakuza 0 and is a direct continuation of that story. It's retconned a few things to allow that to fit. But by and large, you are sort of, you've... At the end of the last game, you put yourself in a position where you ultimately end up in prison, and then you come back, and you have to deal with all these things that are happening. And you walk into Tokyo, and it's the exact, this version of Tokyo, it's the exact same one that you saw in Yakuza 0. Like, the buildings are exactly where you left them, and all that. So it feels like a true sequel in a way that we don't get a lot of sequels like this that really are just a direct continuation. And that's pretty rad. I mean, Yakuza has gone, the story has gone well beyond Zero and Kiwami at this point. The sixth game is out in Japan, which we'll be getting next year. But for U.S. audiences, I think Yakuza 0 was the first one that really kind of got attention beyond its usual niche audience. So, if you liked that one, give it a shot. If you haven't, I'd recommend it. And then this would be a great follow-up. And it's only $30 as well. So it is potentially a budget release, depending on how you think about prices.
Was there, maybe this is a conspiracy theorist kind of thing, do you think that Yakuza 0 and Yakuza Kiwami being set in the same version of Tokyo was like part of the development cycle as well? Like we could share these assets? Not even assets, like
No, yeah,
large
it's
structural
the same stuff.
cool.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, it can be.
Yeah,
Don't
but
just recycle environments.
well, you still got a story to tell.
I'm just joking. You sounded really positive. I need to bring you down. No, I'm just joking. It
worked.
So you'll be playing that more over the next few
Yeah,
weeks.
yeah. We should have a review up August 21st. So check that out.
Damn, that comes out August 29th along with Mario plus Rabbids and an expansion of some other game.
Yeah.
Cool.
Very similar.
Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice has made video game news for a number of reasons this week, not the least of which is because reviews are generally favorable, I'd say.
Yeah.
Alessandro Filari here at GameSpot reviewed it. You can go check out his review on GameSpot. He liked it a lot. He thinks the game does some really great stuff, and I agree. I beat it Sunday night. I've been playing through. It's weird because looking at this does not, the definition of indie is always kind of morphing. It's not, people misuse it all the time, but this is an independent studio, Ninja Theory, who previously the last thing they did was the DMC remake. Was that the last thing?
Yeah.
Before that, Heavenly Sword. They did character action combat games, and I think going into this, a lot of people thought they'd do the same thing, but this is more of, a lot of people are saying it's like a visual novel almost, like walking simulator-ish with combat elements and puzzle solving stuff.
I thought the visual novel, not comparison, I guess that observation was really interesting because like the traditional idea of a visual novel is usually like text on screen, character icon, but I like bending that definition a little bit, and that's definitely the vibe that I get starting this game out. I mean, you're really like, I was listening very intently because I didn't turn on subtitles because I'm dumb, and it really captured my attention right from the very beginning.
Yeah. I have a bunch of questions about this, but I do want to. Pete, you're like maybe halfway through based on what I saw you playing today.
Oh, really?
I beat it in 6 hours. No, I'd a little less than halfway. You're almost to the halfway mark.
How many? So is it just those two paths?
No.
that you choose from?
Sorry. Yeah. Now that I think of it, you're less than halfway.
Okay.
So you beat those two, and that is like halfway.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it's cool because like you have, and then you have live action stuff like this. They have really great. They used Unreal Engine actually back at GDC 2015. I think they did a demo when Tim Sweeney, is that correct? Epic.
That's the name. Yeah.
Yeah, he went on stage to show off the actor for this, who actually was the video editor who did a lot of their like video marketing and in-game cutscene editing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Tamim Antonionades, I think I'm correct pronouncing that correctly. He's at their studio in Cambridge. They tapped her to help them out with the facial capture and acting early on in the process, telling her that she was just a stand-in for that actor, but they actually were. She was the actor, and they didn't really tell her until after, but she did an awesome job, so they kept her on. So that is who you see doing all this motion cap.
What's the value of that? Not telling her.
Sorry. It wasn't like the plan right away. They literally had her as a stand-in. Then like, this could go somewhere.
Oh, because she was probably doing a great job.
She did awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it's a tough character to portray. I mean,
Hell yeah.
One of the other huge aspects of this game is that Ninja Theory is pretty upfront with the fact that they are portraying this girl who has, what we now call psychosis. Although obviously this is, I don't even know what you want to call it, like 8th century Celts. Although when the Vikings came to Orkney, which is where the game is based off, like Orkney Celts, Germanic tribes north of like Hadrian's Wall in England. When the Vikings kind of took over that area, the Vikings became the prevalent tribes in the 9th century. So this is maybe even like early 9th century. This is all kind of just like boring historical stuff, but it's kind of relevant because she's part of a Celtic tribe. She's a Celtic warrior. This is Senua. But the mythology that is kind of paralleling her journey here is all Norse.
Yeah, they're talking
Thor, Odin, Loki,
right.
Freyr.
They talk a lot about the Northmen, which, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that I just can't get enough of. So I was already like so on board, and then you have that added aspect of what I think a lot of people would interpret as schizophrenia. And they're very upfront. I mean, like even the opening credits has like mental health advisor, which so it was like that blend of things is just so cool to me. You don't see that a lot.
Yeah, there's a trigger warning at the beginning of the game saying a lot of this could be bad stuff for people who potentially like. I mean, psychosis can be a symptom of a lot of things. It can be a symptom of depression. It can be a symptom of bipolar disorder. Like really, really bad anxiety. But like you said, I think what she would have is the closest to what we'd call schizophrenia today, but Ninja Theory was careful not to label it.
Right.
But
which I appreciate.
Yeah, so you see the puzzles here in the real world. I actually want to compare these puzzles to another game, But if I said that, it would actually kind of spoil the other game. I'm not trying to be purposely elusive, but I don't know if you guys know what game I'm talking about from last year. So you're doing these puzzles, and part of the coolest thing in my opinion, and actually Goobshoe Riot, unofficial, official GameSpot #1 fan, he tweeted at me today for a question in the lobby saying, "Are you going to talk about this game's portrayal of mental illness?" And we're doing a reboot episode on it. I will say I think it's really, really authentic and empathetic approach to portraying mental illness. They consulted a bunch of people from University of Cambridge, psychiatrists, and like mental health experts.
I mean, they were like the first names in the credits.
Yeah. And like I said, right after that trigger warning, it said you can go to hellbladehelp.info. And I thought it would be like a game specifically for the game, but it's them just redirecting a bunch of different people to international suicide hotlines, depression outlets, and whatnot. So they took it very seriously, and it shows. So you see combat right here. People are calling it, there's a question about whether it's Dark Souls. We'll get into that. But you see her, she's addressing the camera, and they use binaural audio, which kind of, this game is best played with headphones.
You gotta play it with headphones,
And you hear voices from either side. Again, that's part of her psychosis. You can hear voices. Hallucinations are big, but also the delusion aspect of this game. People with psychosis will start making connections in the world that other people would see as coincidence and kind of be paranoid about them. In this game, that's how the puzzles come into play. She sees connections in the world that like triggered this, that it's kind of like this hyper creativity, and it's really, I think the game does a good job of implementing that.
I feel like two minds about it, because I think the idea of finding those false connections and making them seem real, that's effective. But I like you saw me struggling with one this morning. I feel like it's in certain cases drawn out to the point where it's like, hey, I got it.
Yeah.
You don't need to be wasting my time making me do this in ways where I'm like folding in on myself trying to do it. Like, you know, so much of what this game does is great in the immediacy of how effective it can be, that I feel like those things kind of slowed me down to the point where I was like, I'm no longer engaging with this character. I'm engaging with puzzle design. And that's not what, for the most part, this game seems to be doing, or at least that's not where its strengths lie. But man, like, so I was playing in that section you saw today, and I noticed these little glimmers of light, like on a tree, and I thought, oh, that's weird. Maybe that's like texture pop in or something like that.
Yeah.
And they were so fleeting. They would like be there 1 second and gone the next. Like when I tried to actually focus on it, when I did actually get the chance to focus on it, I realized it was projected video of eyeballs.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like it looks like light because the pupil is so big and there's only so much white of the eye left on the video they're projecting.
Damn.
That it looks like something like that. But like even details that you might not even consciously be aware of are seeping into your head. It's just like,
damn. It's like you said, there's something to be said, you know, apart from what they're trying to do and depict with this character, I do think the puzzle solving can be pretty drawn out and dry after you get it.
Yeah,
I think they do push it too far.
A little bit.
Gameplay wise. It fits, but it does kind of hurt the pacing.
Yeah.
The combat as well later on, there's a few kind of mechanics that you can spam. I was telling you about it. It's one of those things where once I discovered one thing to do against a specific enemy, I was like, damn, I wish I didn't know this. I don't know if it was an oversight on their part, but it becomes repetitive when you figure these things out. But we can get more into the combat. I think the combat is satisfying and functional, but I don't necessarily think it's fantastic.
I think it's functional. Like I would give it that. I mean, like it's just so not the point to me where I just kind of considered it. Like I think the most notable thing about the combat is the environment in which it takes place is really haunting, at least from what I've played. It's really disturbing, and that imagery is really effective. And so the fact that I'm just kind of spamming one thing is not really what I'm thinking about anyway, and I'm kind of glad for that. Like I don't want to have to think too hard about the combat. Because the other thing about Senua as a character is that she's very... She has so much fear in her face when you see her, and she seems lost in a lot of ways, and I think that's part of her character as well. That I think that the fact that I'm just kind of like square is almost appropriate for her. Like I don't mind it. Like I saw some people on Twitter kind of being like, the combat really turned me off, but I just don't like, if you're playing this game for the combat, then I think your stuff is flying over your head, or you're not really looking at the right things.
Yeah,
there didn't seem to be. I have only played probably like an hour, 2 hours, but there was no like tutorial or explanation of really anything, right?
Right, and it leaves some things that you can do up to you to discover beyond just simply attacking and blocking, like combinations of inputs that you wouldn't think.
So you just
yeah.
okay. So the more
the running
that's like
Achilles.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
pretty
I got accidental combos for sure.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I feel like the spamming is like a result of that, right? Like I'm in the thick of it. I'm just gonna like
Sorta.
mess around, but like that's nice to hear. At least like along the way, you start realizing like, oh, okay, combos like
Yeah,
can fall
and
out
even
of it.
parrying and stuff. And like once you
Right.
see that, then it almost the combat then falls into that sort of like puzzly sort of engagement where you're looking for tells and you're trying to react as quickly as possible and that sort of thing.
Yeah, DFW Gamer on YouTube was saying, someone else was asking, saying the combat is kind of like a mix between God of War and Dark Souls. It's limited to the small areas in which you fight, though. I forgot to mention that. You can't just always swing your sword. Senua will literally pull her sword out at specific combat areas.
Right.
Once you know you've killed everybody and you're done with that wave of enemies or boss, which she'll sheath her sword and then move on to the next kind of story-driven 20 minutes, half hour, or puzzle solving for the next 20 minutes, half hour. I guess we could ask that. Okay, Jean-Luc, I'm sorry, this is out of order. Actually, no. Okay, I'll go in order. So Redfield on Twitter, sorry, I'm looking at our run of show. Redfield on Twitter said, how would you best describe the overall flow or feel of gameplay? I know it's a tired method, but what contemporaries does it most compare to? So DFW Gamer on YouTube just mentioned the new God of War. I believe he means the upcoming one, and that's actually the first thing I thought of. They're going from that third-person character action, like Devil May Cry almost, that Ninja Theory made, to what the new God of War looks like, over-the-shoulder melee combat as opposed to just freestanding camera. I think that's an apt comparison. I think God of War looks like it might be a little more in-depth, but it does feel weird because the camera's fixed over her shoulder. And you're fighting people. You're not like rotating the camera.
And sometimes
You're
enemies
flicking
will
the
get
analog
behind
stick.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the audio figures into that because her voice will say, "Look out behind you." And that's really cool too.
That's so cool. And like the fixed camera, also, you always have a blind spot with that,
Right.
like no matter
Yeah.
what. And I love that because a lot of this game is about perspective
Yeah, and
what
tunnel
you,
vision and-
yeah,
yeah.
what you see and what you don't see. And I always feel slightly unsafe, which I like. But it's definitely, it was, at first I was like, this is weird. Like I'm not used to
Yeah.
this at all.
Yeah.
And sorry, Rob. One more thing. 84 Jester X before it disappears off my chat on YouTube said, "I'm surprised no one's mentioning Heavenly Sword." Yeah, it's similar, but that was more like Devil May Cry, like character action, right?
I didn't play it, but yeah, from what I understand, yeah, it was not as like focused as this game.
Same developer, Ninja Theory, and then people are mentioning Kai from Heavenly Sword looks a bit like Naruto. I wonder if, Kai from Heavenly Sword looks a bit like Senua. I wonder if it's like the woad paintings, like Celtic tribes stuff. You were gonna say something?
Yeah, just on the combat, like the little I played yesterday or last night, I had a really hard time with this game. Like among the take on psychosis and like really making you uncomfortable, but like I had a bug in like with the first combat encounter that like probably if not the most important encounter where you're like kind of allowed or like you have that freedom to kind of see what the buttons do. Like, oh my god, the camera got stuck in a fence.
Damn.
I was like pushed back into a fence,
sucks.
and I like was blindly doing shit and was stuck there for a while. Like I think I even died there, but like I don't know. There's something about that moment, maybe just like in my own head, along with other voices like yelling at me. I don't know. That was really hard, but I just had a hard time getting into it, and people have been saying this, like, this game is not for everyone. I will continue to play, but it's just intense
Yeah, it's tough
all the
'cause
way through. Like it's hard. It's hard to play.
It's a hard game to explain, like just because it's also, we'll get more into like the AAA versus indie or pricing model stuff. And also there's a massive thing that I'm kind of hesitant to bring up, but I think it's in the public eye enough that I'm not spoiling anything anymore.
Yeah, it's tricky,
Because there's a really good discussion we had with it.
and we don't know if it's a legitimate thing or not.
Yeah.
Yet. Essentially, I think we can say the game tells you that permadeath is a thing.
Yeah.
And the way that it handles it is unusual, perhaps by circumstance or by
Well, I think we could
choice.
talk about, it's right at the beginning of the game, so I think we could talk about what the game is telling you, right? Like, and what we've tried out.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, if so, you have this thing, this rot, and if you die enough times, it will slowly crawl up your body until it eventually infects your brain, and hey, you're dead.
Wipe your save file.
Wipe your save file.
According to the screen that comes up, it says Senua will succumb to the rot, and all your progress will be lost. I'm assuming if you wanted to avoid that, you could upload to the cloud.
Yeah. It's the power of the cloud.
Yes, but then we tried it out.
Avoiding death.
Alessandro, when he was reviewing it just for like pragmatism, was trying it out, and it didn't affect him. He
Right.
died. He purposely died. Like how many times? Like he was like
Multiple times.
he
And
was
there's-
saying he died a bunch.
And there's videos on YouTube of people pushing it to like I think 50 deaths.
yeah. So I think it's in the public eye enough. But then like Ninja Theory is saying no, it's a thing.
I think that's.
So,
I'm pretty sure that's the truth.
what
they said that like PR responded to someone and
Yeah.
said like, oh, it's probably a bug. Actually.
Yeah.
What I heard was that it's like there are many different ways you can die in this game, right? And there are different areas that can and cannot facilitate to it. So like there was one area, I won't tell you what, but I heard that it's a really tough area, but it's not. It's just like a traversal aspect.
Yeah.
And you can die based on the
I
environment.
I fell off a branch.
Yeah.
Today.
So like,
Died.
if you think about it, like from a design point, like you wouldn't want to implement that there, in that you don't want to discourage someone who just can't get their mind around it, right?
Potentially.
Like
Potentially, but I feel like this game takes enough risks that I wouldn't be surprised if they took
They
a
just do it.
mechanical risk. Yeah.
Yeah, this game they do a lot of things. I mean, we talked about putting psychosis at the center of it in terms of gameplay and the characterization and being upfront about it is one thing, and then you get into
I mean, yeah, like the guy who was dying, he was dying in a fight, who did it 50 times, right?
Yeah.
So,
It's not
like-
true. But
so the rot was growing up my arm, but I think it
Right.
got to like my shoulder before I finished because I was playing on the auto difficulty. It's got like a Resident Evil 4-ish auto scaling. The better you
Yeah.
do, the harder it'll get. But then you can also put easy, medium, hard, or whatever.
I do want to say, like, regardless of whether it's true, I think creating that tension is cool. Like, I think
Yeah.
the idea of the finality of it and, I mean, talking about the combat and how people have mixed feelings about the combat, I think part of my impulse to spam was being like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit.
Yeah.
And I think that even if it's not true, even if the game is telling you this, because I mean, this is an unreliable narrator, right? This is a story with somebody who doesn't always see things as they are, and hears voices that aren't there. And so, I mean, I think regardless of whether it actually happens or not, it's a cool thing to introduce that introduces another layer of tension besides the voice in one ear and the horrible chanting ahead of you and the dead bodies hanging from trees. It creates another dimension to it, and I think I mean I know a lot of people are mad about it for some reason, but I think it's interesting.
Irrational fear, irrational like dread and growing despair is huge to her character, and it kind of makes you
Yeah.
feel that way
Right.
too, which is
Well,
Yeah.
also like
Crazy.
just. I mean, even
great.
for if you don't have something as extreme as psychosis, like I mean, just like day-to-day anxiety is like
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
the feeling of being like there's danger around the corner, like your body being like beware, and you're being like no body, there's no danger, and your body's
And then-
like but what if you died right now?
What if a stranger wants to talk to you and has a question and says hi?
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
Yeah, what if something bad happens? So
That's something bad happening to me. A
yeah.
stranger talking to me when I didn't want it.
yeah. So even in the chat right now, the Twitch chat, Azrarillion says, GameSpot, apparently you have to die in several different places for the permadeath to work. And then a bad player said permadeath was disproven. So I don't.
It's unclear, and I think that first theory is curious to me, but again, that would seem to not fall in line with what the game is telling you. I think this is really interesting for Ninja Theory because they're at a crossroads where they can say, "All right, guys, everyone thinks that this thing is one way
that's
or
what
the
I
other."
was just thinking.
Yeah, like they can either confirm that they are as clever as everyone thinks, or say, "Actually, we screwed up." But thanks for thinking of us in that, in
Yeah.
that way.
I would love to see
Did
them
you,
stick
did you
their
switch
guns.
the permadeath switch?
Bill, God damn it, Bill.
Yeah, I don't know if this is what you're saying. I would love for them to just stick their guns and be like, no, it can happen. Don't fucking.
That's kind of
Don't test me.
That's kind of what I'm
Yeah.
saying, but they have to. But if the question posed to them is, why is there so much proof that it doesn't happen?
Yeah.
What do they say to that?
Yeah.
Like it's either you're not doing it right, which then I'd say then you didn't explain it properly, or it was a bug, or it doesn't happen.
or failure is not what you think. Ooh, like,
Yeah.
Or it's all case study. And they're just interested to like, let's mess
Very
with
least, like we're talking about it now, we have no idea. So people playing the game are like, shit, I don't know if this is gonna happen. If I replay the game, it would still even unless it was completely disproven and they said something, I would still go into the game if I replayed it and be like, kind of uneasy if I played on the hardest
Happened
difficulty.
to me.
Yeah.
I think we can segue into the next part of this topic, which is the AAA AA,
Yeah.
because I really want to talk about how incredible this game looks. The production qualities are that which we don't see very often. Like I often think of Metal Gear Solid 5 as having some of the best character modeling, animation, lighting, and camera work and scene composition out there for games specifically, because games are sort of a bit behind Hollywood. But this takes things to a level that makes you feel such a personal connection to the character, and everything is so unreal but real. Like it's the lighting, it's the texture work, it's the animations. It's all there, and I can't think of another video game that at the best moments of Hellblade that looks as good as Hellblade.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
I will say that I expected the dead bodies to have more detail.
It is a weird,
I was
yes.
expecting them a little too closely, and they looked kind of like.
The corpses look like a PS2 HD upgrade.
For
or
some
something
reason,
like
the
that.
corpses don't look as good as everything else. But like, oh my god, just being in the forest, and like I was getting distracted just looking around.
Well, it's these moments too, right?
Yeah.
Like this is the sort of thing where I can't. It's CG, right? But you could tell me it's not, and I'd say, wow, that was pretty good post effect work.
I mean, and they also have FMV. I don't think I've seen any yet myself, but don't they have some?
It's
of
that guy.
Yeah,
It's
well,
that guy that sort
okay.
of fades in and talks to you. And
Several
Oh, yeah.
characters
Like,
later
you,
on.
you combine that, and they're so like, alongside like effects and like neat composition, that it's not so blatant. You know what I mean? It's not like here's a cutscene now.
Oh yeah.
Everything is so seamless and consistent, right? Like I don't think there are the only loading times or if you like die, right? Like I don't know. It's
Yeah, and that's very important to the experience of being on this journey with someone. Like, it's a very different beast than Shadow of War, but the same thing applies. Like, if you're trying to invest a character in this fantasy, they need to have as few barriers as possible to engage with it and be a part of it. And this game, for the most part, ensures that that's the case all the time.
It's interesting that Lawbreakers came out the same day because
Oh.
No, sorry, to go back to the pricing stuff. AAA,
Yeah.
AAA like $30. They're both $30,
Right.
And like it's a 6 to 8 hour game. I think I beat it in about 6 hours. It felt longer than that because of the oppression of the story, but I do think that sets an interesting precedent. It's always like, why do we price games $60 by default if it's going to be this long, or there's going to be this much to do, or it's going to be, this much replay value. It's always kind of this gray area, and it kind of hopefully sets an interesting precedent for that conversation in the future with this level of production in games.
No publisher would have funded this game.
Sure.
I can't imagine anyone brought this to an EA or a Warner Brothers, and they'd be like, yeah, we want a dark and brooding, examination of
Can I get a
personal
sample?
anguish.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Let me play a little bit. Yeah, I love this.
Yeah,
So-
it's like this is.
what kind of DLC do you got planned for that?
Yeah,
You
I know. Like
Yeah.
this is the kind of thing where like I know this is exactly the shit I do like. Like this game, like you could have told me like, oh, Callie, they made a game specifically for you to enjoy,
Right.
and I'd be like, oh yeah, sorry, I'll give you some money for that.
Right.
Sorry, nobody funded this. Like I would believe you if you said like they had a really hard time getting people to want it because it just is. It's so specific. But I think also so relatable.
I think that there's a sense of authorship, even though you couldn't credit it to maybe one person or another. But it feels like there's a vision here that is just it's allowed to do everything that the people behind it want it to do, and it reminds me of something like The Last Guardian in terms of that feeling of playing a game that is more than just a product to sit on a shelf to sell to gamers.
Yeah.
Right. Like this is in a sense a work of art that is authoritative in what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Jean-Luc, I am going to skip over one question and go back to it. Sorry. But I do have a question in regards to this kind of AAA model. Luigi Wagner, who has submitted a few questions to the lobby throughout the months we've been going. Thank you very much. Could Hellblade's production model signal the birth of a new tier of games, as in smaller AAAs that aren't constantly worrying about action? I think we kind of covered that, but I think that is a very relevant question for this game.
And it's one that'll be examined on GameSpot. We've got something coming up.
Cool.
in the
Oh,
future.
yeah. Specifically about Hellblade, right? Yeah.
And this topic as well about birthing a new category, if you will.
Cool. Yeah. Luigi Wagner, thank you again. And then I'm going to go back to it. One more question, kind of that I skipped over about the combat. Joseph Lee on Twitter said, thinking about buying Hellblade, but heard the combat is watered down Souls, repetitive, and the big pro is the story. Thoughts? I think Dark Souls is a bad comparison. I think that's the kind of knee-jerk reaction to like dodge and blocking based melee combat.
Right, yeah.
No, I think this is very different.
I mean, those elements are there.
And maybe like the fact that they don't tutorial everything and you kind of figure out a few things yourself. That
Right.
might factor into the Dark Souls comparison.
Yeah, but I mean, as someone who sucks at Dark Souls, I think I can sort of maybe speak a little bit to the different levels of challenge that exist. Like Dark Souls is, in a sense, meant to be a game that you kind of need to like fail a few times before you really understand what it is you need to do. And this game, failure is pretty hard.
Yeah.
You don't get punished for not being right the first, second, or even third time.
Yeah.
So it's not as demanding, and I think that's really more the Souls thing, is how punishing it can be.
Yeah. Joseph Lee, thank you for your question. Redfield, Luigi Wagner as well. Anything else on Hellblade before we go on to Lawbreakers?
Yeah, wear headphones for sure.
Yeah, if you can.
There were some freaky moments in the best way where it's like I think one of the characters like talking to you like from right ear to left, and it felt like he was legitimately pacing in the back of your head.
Which is literally what they did during the recording sessions. There's a really cool feature on the main menu of the game that you can watch.
Maybe,
It's making
Really?
a thing, yeah.
The binaural like audio capture device literally is this black cylinder with fake plastic ears on the side that actually captures sound through the contours of a human ear.
Oh yeah, it's
Pretty cool.
wild.
And they'll like
Yeah.
lunge at it and kind of circle it. It's really cool to watch.
Man, I missed that. I missed the trigger warning at the beginning. Like I was like, woo, corpses. Like
If I can give any practical advice, it'd be to sit close to a monitor when you're playing it, because having the headphones and then having just your view only be this game, not like on a couch like 15 feet away. Having that right in front of my face, like a foot away, also helped with immersion
imagine
quite a
VR.
bit. Right.
that could be potentially dangerous. Like I would
That
freak
could
out
be
a lot.
dangerous.
Yeah.
Imagine VR games must use similar audio, or maybe they will.
Well, they use similar. Yeah, there's some games that use similar audio techniques, and VR is actually being used at USC to treat things like mental illness and PTSD.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, in effect, like stuff like this is bad, but it can also, it's potentially bad. When used with the proper direction, very effective. At treating people.
One minor note, not to get heavy, but yeah, this game is super like with the psychosis aspects and everything. The trigger warning is kind of essential at the beginning. It is a tough game to get through, especially if you've seen this stuff up close. All this stuff fucking sucks to deal with, but I do strongly advocate trying this game out because it is a very empathetic and very understanding and very, frankly, authentic portrayal of this kind of stuff. And the fact that like this young of a medium is doing it so well, as opposed to like, you have movies like some of my favorite ones deal with stuff. Silver Linings Playbook, Punch Drunk Love, Melancholia, that stuff all touches on it, but, not just for a video game, but for any kind of entertainment or art form. This is a really, really powerful portrayal.
It's really nice to see something about mental illness. And some of my favorite depictions, or I wouldn't say favorite, but the most important ones to me have been in games. But it's just nice to see it not portrayed as being crazy. It is very empathetic, and I
Or
think
comic relief. Or anything.
Yeah, there's no like, she's
Right.
dumb and weird, like which does sometimes happen in other stories about mental illness. And so it's exercise caution, of course, if it's something that you think will be difficult for you, but I think it's worth experiencing.
I don't know if the audience can hear this right now, but if you can, there's a bunch of vibrating and stuff happening.
Someone's
in the
trying to
building.
bust through our walls.
I feel like a
Kool-Aid
tank,
Man's on the
a
other
tank
side.
just gonna roll through the back of our set.
That's a good segue to Lawbreakers, Booty Shakers, and
Baby makers.
Violent Quakers.
What?
Anyway,
I don't know.
we
We were doing a thing. We were rapping.
Welcome to Law.
We were rapping.
Not like rapping like a rap artist would, but like
Artists.
we were rapporting.
like
That form of
riffing.
rapping. Yeah. Yeah.
Lawbreakers. I almost did that goddamn transition that you called me out for. Cool. Lawbreakers.
Cool. I've noticed you haven't
cool.
done it this show.
I know. I'm on my game today.
You're growing.
Lawbreakers. I almost did it again. Lawbreakers. Rob, you, me, and Jake were playing a lot of it yesterday. I played a little bit this morning. Have you, Callie, or Pete gotten the chance to play much?
No.
This game,
I want to play it.
I'm getting my butt kicked in this game. It's not like people are comparing it to Overwatch, and I know why. I see why, because it's kind of character-driven, specific abilities for each class. But then I would say half of the game is kind of that. Half is this Unreal Tournament Quake fast paced, very high skill. I almost said ceiling, skill floor, learning curve. Kind of, I think it's tailor made for PC audiences with a mouse twitch shooting. But
yeah, I'm
Well, apparently
interested.
the PS4 version has had issues anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Technical problems, yeah.
yeah,
because I was about to say
Servers or-
I'm interested
No.
to see how that plays on controller.
Yeah,
Sorry, what issues?
don't know about that, but it's had an issue where it's been like hitching for like half a second.
Oh,
And Boss Key was saying
Cool.
like, oh, that should only happen if you're like changing roles or like exiting a menu, and people are like, no, it happens like anytime.
I didn't
Well,
know
you're
that.
wrong.
Literally anytime.
That's a pretty huge. Oh, not oversight. That's a pretty huge problem to have
It's
with
a
a
problem.
Twitch shooter. Yeah.
It sounds like it's going to be patched today.
Okay. Cool.
We'll see about that.
Because this game, it's tough. There's 8 classes. Overwatch was a very good game for people who don't always play like PC shooters to get into, which, like I had taken a lot of time off from that kind of stuff. Overwatch it started with what, I might be wrong, 21 characters. Now it has 25.
It has 25 now.
Okay, so it's 21 because then they added Ana, Orisa, Sombra, and Doomfist. But that game had someone for everyone, and that was kind of the point, right? To be inclusive, both in terms of characterization and just the abilities to kind of suit. And this game kind of does, but even the lower classes, like the Enforcer is kind of the Soldier 76. I got to stop with the Overwatch comparisons. He's kind of the Call of the vanilla shooter kind of introduction with an assault rifle, sprint, grenade. But then I started playing this right here is the Wraith.
Nope, Vanguard.
Vanguard, thank you. But essentially, there are 8 classes, different character for each one to portray the Law or the Breakers. I started playing the Juggernaut, which is like a shotgun defensive class. My one recommendation, if you're learning this game and you're not just inherently good at PC shooters, if you're like me, if you're not good, as I am not good, sorry, I wasn't bragging. That was self-deprecating, and I misworded it. Try out, learn what you can do to get better, because I was playing the Juggernaut, and instead of trying to do what everybody else was doing, to get the ball to bring it to the enemy base or capture this zone and be really good at offense, I just hung back and played defense, and it's much more fun. It eased me into it. I had a class that kind of was suited to my abilities more. Learn what class works for you and start playing with that to ease yourself into it, because this game, there are a lot of good players already, and I suck.
Yeah.
But
It's tough. I would say, for me, I feel like I was decent enough at PC, mouse and keyboard shooters, but it's the mobility factor here where you cannot stay put ever.
yeah,
There is no role really where you're stationary. And even when you're playing with these highly mobile guys, you can just get worked if you are not, especially in these 0G moments, right? You are,
which are great.
they're real.
Design wise.
It is really fun though. I think this game is fun. I have good and bad matches all the time, and I think one of a few gripes I have is I wish you could pick the game mode.
There's only
Like
2
the
right
match
now,
type?
right?
Yeah, the match type. It's just quick play where you
no.
just get
Wait, you
tossed
don't
into a
pick?
No. There's custom matches. I just checked today.
custom matches that you create yourself, or no?
No. There's quick matches, and then you can pick play.
Oh, you can isolate your the
Search.
servers.
I could have
your
sworn.
search?
I'll look it up while you're talking, but I could have sworn
Oh.
you could.
Well, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's all about finding your character. I don't know. But when I got to Harrier, which is, I guess, apparently the newest one that we've seen.
Well, it was the alpha and the beta originally had 3 or 4, and then we got to play more. But Harrier is, yeah.
Yeah, and was doing really well with that character, and it's now my favorite. But yeah, I don't know. It is tough. I think PC runs and looks great. By the way, I was getting ultra settings, a solid 80 frames per second, consistently on a 1080.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know where I'm exactly going with this talk right
Well,
here.
Other facts.
Other facts that I can roll.
I prefer catch up.
I like this. I like this game. I actually didn't think I would, and I'm definitely gonna play some more of it. To be honest, Vanguard flying around. It's just one of those things too. With you compare to Overwatch all the time, right? That's where you're always with your ult and all these things. But I don't know. For me at least, I kind of fell off the Overwatch train, so it's kind of neat to maybe try something else out.
These matches are quicker than Overwatch matches as well. The majority of Overwatch matches.
I think my biggest hesitation with starting this game is that I get really nervous with stuff that's it's multiplayer online pretty much only, is like you're learning in real time and other people can see your failures. And that was a great timing for that death. That's my biggest hesitation, I think. And I like I've said this before, I think like on paper I should really like this game and I want to play it, but I'm also like, if people are already good at it, I'm just afraid to disappoint a team. That's my biggest thing. And from what you guys are saying, it sounds like it's really hard to learn to be good at it. I feel it takes a lot of failure, and other people have to bear the brunt of that, I guess.
Yeah.
Does that process feel like it's any better due to the sort of speed of everything? Because when I used to play like Unreal Tournament 2003, for example, like way back in the day, I got my ass kicked all the time, but it was the idea that like I could get back up so fast and get right back into the action that the loss almost didn't really feel that bad to me. Because it was like, okay, sure, I'm not succeeding, but I'm also still playing like seconds later.
This is such a dumb, stupid metaphor, but I'm going to go for it anyways.
Yes.
Imagine you're playing Little League Baseball and you get accustomed to the speed of the pitch and you're smoking it out of the park every time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're playing in a major league game and they're
Your
pitching
dad is cheering you on.
pitching so fast. They're pitching so fast that you're swinging like 2 seconds too early. That was my experience with this game. I came into this game, I was like, it was so fast and hard to comprehend. It was so fast, maybe not hard to comprehend, but I was overcompensating and just missing and freaking out every time someone came up to fight me. When I actually got a sense of the pace of the game after like 10 matches or so, slowed down a little bit to kind of really figure out what's going on, what could I do to help the objective, it started clicking and I started getting kill streaks and I started learning how to use my abilities. I was telling you the Juggernaut's my favorite class right now. He's got like the shotgun with a blade on it for a melee attack. And then he's got like a Mei ice wall, kind of a hologram wall thing that say they're trying to carry the ball into your base. It's like the bomb in this, if you played Halo. I put a wall up in this hallway. They were stuck. 2 other guys came from behind them and killed them, and we defended the base. When you start to kind of slow down and you start thinking rather than just reacting to everything that's going on and making use of your character, it becomes really fun. This right here was mine. No, just kidding. This is Rob. This is Rob playing the Harrier class. Kind of a Zarya weapon with an ion from Titanfall 2 alt. Man.
Yeah, it's
Do they call them ults in this game?
I don't know how to say that too.
I don't know if they have a name for it. It's just the third ability that's mapped to Q that unlocks alts. What else?
Perks.
God,
I hate all
core
those terms.
abilities. Titanfall. Better here than the core. That's your joke.
Better than
you said it well, but you
Pass
start. I don't know. The more I would say, like where I was enjoying it was when I finally got a character and got my role. Like, you know, there are kind of support class, like healers. Like once you figure that out, you just you just need to like really spend a lot of time, I would say, with one character, and then it started clicking for me, as well as like, don't get caught in like, I don't know, sometimes you just find yourself, what am I doing? You're playing dumb. Like, why am I like on their side of like the map? Or like, why don't I back off and not chase some guy like into a room?
Play defense for a while.
Yeah, like honestly, yeah. Because what is intimidating is definitely like, you know, you're figuring out these characters, you're figuring out the map and like actually, you know, for the most part, how to play the game. But like the game modes, like, you know, unless you're like looking through all the tutorials, which could take like maybe an hour to understand like each one of these game modes, because they're kind of different, and you know they have all new names like uplink and overcharge. I feel like that was kind of intimidating, just getting thrown into that and be like, okay, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But the more I played, the more I was like catching on and actually enjoying it.
Rockfish100 on Twitch said, "I'll go download it. It's free to play anyway. It's $30. Don't think it's free. I'm assuming the screen will
it was going to be, but then they changed their.
I'm assuming the screen will tell you it's $30, but I just wanted to clarify. Anything else on Lawbreakers? The map design is great. The 0G areas add a really cool verticality. Yeah. It's what I was wanting Infinite Warfare to do with its multiplayer in the 0G environments, but this game's fun. I don't know how much longer I'll play it. Again, this has so much of a learning curve that I wish I had more time to just devote to this game, because it is a great palate cleanser after playing Hellblade and maybe like getting back into. I'm also kind of tepidly getting back into Overwatch with the Summer Game skins and Lucio Ball. Everybody's been hearing Lucille Ball lately,
especially because they're making that Lucille Ball movie with Kate Blanchett.
Yeah. So this
easy
game,
to hear.
Lucille too.
Still too.
This game is it's fun. We will have the full review up from Miguel Concepcion. He's been playing.
Yeah, it
through
should be by the end of this week.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. Almost did it.
You did it.
Well, that's our show. I don't think Shiva announced it yet, but our giveaway is 25 PC codes and 25 PS4 codes for Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
One person gets all 50 codes.
Yeah, do with it what you will. Now, if you don't follow GameSpot on Twitter, go do so and then retweet the tweet that Shiva's about to put up.
Yep.
I think this week we're gonna wait until Sunday to pick the winner. It'll be random, so just retweet it. We will pick them, and if you enjoyed our conversation or that intrigued you about this game, highly encourage you to check it out. Like Rob, you said, I don't think everyone will love it, but I would definitely tell everyone to try it, see what it's all about. That is pretty much it. Anything else? What are you playing this week? You've been playing Matterfall a little bit.
Matterfall, probably a little more Hellblade, Kiwami. There's a couple
swimming in games.
There's a couple
you?
other. I am somewhat inundated with games right now. There's a lot of things happening over the next couple of weeks that have made it a little bit hard to.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
I'm playing lots of games.
Sorry, I didn't mean to discount. One more thing. The PC giveaway is worldwide, so it's not confined to U.S. or Europe. The PS4 giveaway is U.S. or Europe only. Apologies if you are on PS4 outside of those territories. Sweet.
Bam.
Rob, what are you playing?
I think I'll play a little more Lawbreakers, and if I have a good moment tonight where I can sit down with a nice cup of tea and dive into Hellblade.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Titanfall.
A nice cup of Titanfall.
A nice. Take an Ambien and just fall asleep in Titanfall.
Well,
Lose yourself.
what's unfortunate is, speaking of Titanfall, it's kind of a bummer that as of now, they're not going to release any more updates, so we can't really.
But they had a great run.
Yeah, they'll be patching and stuff though.
Poor boy.
Just maybe Titanfall 3 will be announced. Down the. I don't know. That's tough to
Were you
say
gonna
because
say
that game,
down the river?
down the road. Sorry, the game didn't sell as well as I would have loved. It was tough. It was going up against Battlefield 1. Call of Duty was like the week after, 2 weeks after. Bad window. Hopefully more people play the game. Although it has increased apparently since release.
Yeah, that co-op mode is fun.
Yeah, it's really good.
I got some.
What else do you want to say?
Tomorrow, Peter and I are streaming.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Here.
right.
What are we streaming tomorrow?
I thought you knew. We're going to be playing Zelda. You're going to get your ass handed to you. No, we're going to play Yakuza? No? Man, what are we playing?
It's my Triforce.
What?
Agents of
Oh, well,
Agents of Mayhem.
We're playing Agents of Mayhem.
I did not know I could do this with my hand. Look at that Triforce.
I did not know we were streaming Agents of Mayhem.
Yeah, you're streaming Agents
Pretty
of
sure we
Mayhem.
are. I'm pretty sure we are.
From
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Kelly, what are you playing?
I'm still playing Splatoon. I just kind of play a couple games when I get home. I'll probably be playing catch up on some games. So
Like,
Next Splatfest.
yeah, as I was saying it, I realized it didn't really work. Just trying to finish some games that I have not yet finished. Oh, and before the giveaway ends, I need to get Shiny Tapu Koko in Pokemon Sun and Moon because I need him for my competitive team.
a shiny what?
Shiny Tapu Koko is a pseudo legendary that is very popular on competitive teams, and with the competitive team that I want to roll with, I want to be able to because I'm going to the Pokemon World Championships to cover it and to see and to watch the games because that's what I like to do, and I want to be able to play there's pickup games basically.
Yeah.
So I want to have my team ready to go before I leave.
Sick.
So I will be bringing out my 3DS again and doing some soft resetting to try to get one with good stats.
Tapu Koko.
Awesome.
It's gonna take hours probably.
Guess what I'm playing? Guess what I just got preview code for that I
X-Corn?
get to talk about soon.
That's real loud in the mic, dude.
Sorry.
X-Corn?
XCOM 2 War of the Chosen. We'll have a preview up next week, Thursday. So I'll be playing that. And on Reboot we'll be talking about Hellblade more.
And I'm sure we're going to have a whole lobby episode about it too, aren't we?
No, it's the embargo's Thursday after the lobby.
Well, there's
We're
more-
pushing the lobby to Thursday next week. I'm kidding. No, we're not. We'll be back same time as always, 11 a.m. here at San Francisco, Wednesday Pacific time. Thank you for stopping by. Again, go retweet that giveaway tweet if you want a chance to win a PC or PS4 code for Hellblade. We'll see you next week.
Agents of Mayhem tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Stop plugging stuff.
I hope you're right.
We're done.